They notice him before they understand him, a presence that doesn't ask for attention, yet pulls the entire room toward him like gravity disguised as silence. No loud entrance, no exaggerated confidence, no performance. Just a quiet intensity that makes people sit up a little straighter without knowing why. A Sigma male doesn't try to be memorable. He becomes unforgettable by simply existing on his own terms. And the strangest part? People feel something shift inside them the moment he appears. Curiosity, unease, admiration, or confusion, but never nothing. If you've ever wondered why some men stand out without trying, or why a Sigma's first impression hits deeper than anyone else's, you're in the right place. Because today, we're breaking down the 7 things people notice about a Sigma male instantly, the traits that speak louder than any introduction, and the energy that leaves an imprint long after he's gone. Before we begin, answer this. When someone meets you, what do they feel first? If you want to master silent influence, subscribe to Silent Wise, and let's dive in. People notice his calm intensity, a quiet presence that feels powerful without effort.
There is something unmistakable about the way he enters a room. No noise, no announcement, no demand for attention, yet the atmosphere shifts anyway, as if everyone's instincts register him before their eyes do.
His calm intensity doesn't come from arrogance or dominance. It comes from a level of inner stillness most people never reach. While others leak nervous energy or try to control the space with volume, he controls it by simply existing within it.
People feel an immediate awareness around him, a subtle pressure that makes them straighten their posture, lower their voice, or rethink their next sentence. His presence is quiet, but it's not passive. It's the kind of quiet that suggests depth, discipline, and a mind that sees more than it reveals. That intensity isn't about attitude, it's about focus.
His attention moves like a laser, steady, grounded, and fully present. He doesn't shift anxiously, doesn't fidget, doesn't broadcast insecurity the way most people unconsciously do. Instead, he holds himself with an ease that feels earned, not performed. People sense that he is not easily shaken, not easily rushed, not easily influenced. They can't explain why, but being near him makes them more aware of their own energy, how scattered it is, how loud it is, how restless it becomes in the presence of someone who has mastered what they haven't. His calm is not something he puts on for show. It's the natural consequence of someone who has trained himself to move through the world without needing validation or permission. And people feel that difference immediately. What stands out most is that he exerts power without trying. His intensity isn't aggressive, it's gravitational. People look at him and feel there is a story behind those steady eyes, a discipline behind that controlled posture, a purpose behind every quiet action. They sense a man who doesn't waste time, doesn't waste words, and doesn't waste emotion. That kind of presence is rare, and humans are wired to notice rarity. His calm intensity speaks in the silence between moments, telling the room that strength does not need to announce itself, it only needs to exist. They sense he's observing everything, even when he says nothing. People feel it immediately, the weight of his attention, subtle yet unmistakable, like a quiet camera scanning the room without ever moving. He doesn't stare, he doesn't pry, he doesn't hover, he simply sees. His silence isn't empty, it's active, deliberate, and alive. While others fill space with noise or nervous chatter, he absorbs the environment with precision, noticing signals most people overlook. The glance someone tries to hide, the tension in a voice, the shift in posture that exposes insecurity or intent. Even when he appears relaxed, there's a depth in his eyes that suggests nothing escapes him. People sense this quietly penetrating awareness, and it unsettles them, not because he's judging, but because they feel suddenly transparent around him. That kind of observation is not passive, it's strategic. He listens to what is said, but pays twice as much attention to what isn't. He reads the room like a map, relationships, motives, unspoken hierarchies, piecing together the dynamics that others walk through blindly. His silence becomes a mirror, reflecting the truth of those around him without him having to reveal his own. And because he gives so little away, people project their own fears, doubts, or intentions onto that stillness. They sense he knows more than he lets on, that he's already a step ahead, that he's collecting data while they're still choosing their words. It creates a tension, a quiet pressure that makes even confident people adjust their behavior under his gaze. What they notice most is that he doesn't need to speak to understand. While others rely on words to connect or control, he relies on awareness. His presence feels like a silent audit, calm, unthreatening, yet profoundly perceptive. People walk away from a conversation with him feeling strangely examined, like he caught details they didn't know they revealed. And the truth is, he probably did, because his strength isn't in what he says, it's in what he sees. His silence isn't absence, it's mastery. They feel his emotional independence. He doesn't need approval from anyone.
People sense it before he even speaks. The absence of emotional hunger, the lack of neediness, the calm of someone who stands firmly on his own inner foundation.
His presence carries a self-contained strength that doesn't reach outward for validation or reassurance.
It's not arrogance and it's not coldness, it's sovereignty.
When he enters a room, he isn't looking to be liked, accepted, or admired. He isn't scanning faces for approval. He isn't adjusting himself to fit an expectation.
Instead, there's a grounded steadiness in the way he moves and listens, as though his identity is built from something far deeper than public opinion.
And people feel it immediately. This man is not swayed by applause or shaken by criticism. He belongs to himself. That emotional independence disrupts the silent social scripts most people follow. Where others mirror the group to blend in, he stays in his natural rhythm. Where others soften their edges to avoid judgment, he keeps his shape. People unconsciously test him through comments, glances, subtle challenges, but none of it lands. He doesn't flinch, doesn't defend, doesn't over-explain. Approval simply has no leverage over him. And that unnerves some people because they're used to influencing others through praise or pressure. With him, both fail. His sense of worth doesn't rise when he's admired or fall when he's underestimated. His emotional temperature is set internally, not controlled by external hands. What people notice most is how liberating and intimidating this independence feels at the same time. He listens without needing to agree, engages without needing to belong, and walks away without hesitation when something misaligns with his values. He chooses his connections, not out of desperation, but intention. And because he needs nothing from anyone, everything he gives carries more weight. His presence teaches a silent, unsettling lesson. The person who needs no approval is the hardest to manipulate and the hardest to forget. His emotional autonomy is a quiet power, steady, unbreakable, and unmistakably rare. They pick up on his confidence, not loud or performative, but grounded and controlled. People notice it the moment he enters a space, not because he demands attention, but because he doesn't need it. His confidence isn't broadcasted through volume, exaggerated posture, or forced charisma. It radiates from a deeper center, something settled and fully formed. His movements are deliberate, his presence composed, his silence intentional. There's no rush to prove himself, no desire to dominate, no insecurity driving him to impress. He carries himself like someone who trusts his own mind, his own instincts, his own path. That quiet certainty draws the eye far more powerfully than any loud display ever could. It's the confidence of a man who knows who he is and has no interest in negotiating that identity. What truly captures people is how controlled this confidence feels. It's not reactive, it's not fluctuating,
and it's not shaped by the room he walks into.
He remains the same whether surrounded by brilliance, insecurity, chaos, or ego.
That consistency unsettles those who rely on external cues to measure their own worth.
They feel his calm as a mirror, exposing their nervousness, exaggeration, or overcompensation.
His steady tone, slow movements, and composed expression suggest a man who has nothing to hide and nothing to prove.
He isn't competing, yet somehow he stands above the competition. He isn't performing, yet he becomes the standard people compare themselves to. Controlled confidence becomes its own form of gravity. As people interact with him, the effect only deepens. When he speaks, his voice doesn't chase attention, it commands it through restraint. When he listens, he does so fully, without impatience or the need to dominate the conversation. When he pauses, the silence feels intentional rather than awkward.
His self-assuredness isn't about superiority, it's about clarity.
He knows what he values, what he tolerates, and what he refuses to engage in. And because his confidence comes from within rather than from approval or dominance, it feels unshakable. People leave the interaction sensing something rare, a man whose power isn't in what he shows, but in what he doesn't need to show.
They notice he's hard to read, and mystery draws people in instantly. People sense it before they can explain it. The Sigma male reveals nothing he doesn't want others to see. His expression stays calm, his reactions controlled, his emotional cues minimal. He speaks with intention, listens without giving away his thoughts, and moves through conversations like someone who understands the power of restraint. That unreadability makes people lean in, trying to decode what he's thinking, what he's feeling, what he's hiding behind that quiet gaze. In a world where most people overshare, overreact, and over-explain, his silence becomes magnetic. Mystery is not something he performs, it's something he naturally is, a quiet presence that invites curiosity without offering easy answers. The more people try to understand him, the more his layers seem to shift. One moment, he seems deeply intuitive, reading the room with unsettling accuracy. The next, he appears distant, detached, impossible to pin down. He gives just enough of himself to keep the interaction alive, but never enough for people to feel they truly know him. This unpredictability heightens the intrigue. It makes people question their assumptions, analyze their interactions, and look for patterns that aren't there. His stillness becomes a puzzle, and his emotional control a maze. People project their own stories, insecurities, and desires onto him because he leaves space for interpretation. The less he reveals, the more others reveal themselves.
But the real reason his mystery draws people in is because it feels intentional rather than accidental. He isn't hiding because he's insecure, he's choosing privacy because he values autonomy. His mind is always calculating, observing, assessing, yet he never broadcasts his conclusions. People sense depth beneath the quiet, a kind of internal world built with precision and guarded with discipline. And that depth calls to them, even if they don't fully understand why. The Sigma male becomes the person they watch from across the room, the one they can't stop thinking about after the interaction ends, the one they want to understand even though he gives them very little to work with. His mystery is not a mask, it's a boundary. And that boundary is exactly what makes people want to cross it.
They recognize his self-control. He never reacts impulsively. People notice it instantly. The Sigma male never moves without intention, never speaks without purpose, never responds from a place of pure emotion. His restraint is unmistakable. In situations where others rush to defend themselves, overshare, or explode out of irritation, he remains grounded, watching, calculating, processing. His silence in heated moments isn't weakness, but discipline, a refusal to give power to chaos. Even his body language is composed, steady eyes, controlled breathing, deliberate gestures. This level of self-command makes people aware that they cannot manipulate him, provoke him, or drag him into emotional traps. He chooses his responses with precision, and that control radiates confidence far louder than any aggressive reaction ever could. His self-control is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. He feels everything, but nothing owns him. When tensions rise, he steps out of instinct and into awareness, reading the environment like a strategist instead of a participant. He notices what triggered the shift, who lost control, and who is trying to mask their fear or insecurity. While others stumble over their reactions, he becomes sharper, quieter, more observant. This calm under pressure creates a subtle imbalance. People begin revealing their intentions while he reveals nothing. His restraint becomes a mirror, reflecting the true nature of those around him. And in that stillness, people realize something unsettling. He cannot be predicted, and he cannot be rushed. The real power of his self-control is how it shapes the outcome without force. Instead of arguing, he waits. Instead of proving a point, he demonstrates it through action. Instead of matching chaos with chaos, he lets the noise collapse under its own weight. People adjust their tone around him, slow down their words, choose their arguments more carefully. His presence rewrites the room's energy, not through dominance, but through unshakable clarity. And the moment people understand that nothing external can break his inner equilibrium, they realize the truth. His self-control is not just a personality trait, it's his greatest form of power.
When a Sigma male walks away from the noise of the world and returns to his own center, something shifts, not just in him, but in everyone who crosses his path. His silence carries truth, his presence carries weight, and his decisions reveal more about others than they ever reveal about him.
If you felt yourself reflected in these patterns, then you already know the quiet strength you hold.
And if you're still stepping into that power, this space is here to sharpen it with you. If you want more deep psychological breakdowns, more insights into the mind most people never understand, make sure you subscribe to Silent Wise and turn on notifications. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which behavior did you recognize instantly in yourself?